Tokyo, Japan. My name is Gary Verheller, and I'll be your host for what we call the Substance of Living podcast. Today, we'll look at what we call life's lessons. And I hope this will provide you with some insight, maybe even some inspiration to life's challenges. Hello, and welcome to episode 71, part 1, entitled Mild Depression. Every human gets depressed now and again. It happens. It's part of the cycle of life. And someone said, and I think it's very, very true, pain is inevitable in life. Suffering is optional. Let me say that again, because that really hit me when I first heard it. Pain is inevitable in life. Suffering is optional. So with that in mind, let's talk about mild depression. Mild depression is good. And when I say that, a lot of people say, what? Mild depression is good. Why? Because mild depression usually means that I'm unhappy with something in my life and I want something better. And that's good. The key is to discover what it is I want. Not so much, why am I depressed? Rather, what is it I want instead of what I'm suffering now? Look for solutions. That sounds easy. It's really difficult when you're depressed. It's like, I can't think of anything, I'm not worthy, all sorts of self-criticism. That's, again, part of depression, part of life. I am my own worst critic. So what to do? What do I suggest? Number one, most importantly, do not be alone. That's the quickest way to go down that rabbit hole of depression. Do not be alone. I talked about looking for solutions, discovering what it is you'd rather have instead of what you're unhappy about. So I talked to my close best friends. I talked to my wife, Satyo. I talked to my best friend, Leon. I talked to my good friend, Bunga. I talked to Bob Smith, my brother-in-law. I talked to my sister, Joyce. I talked to my good friend, Frank. I talked to my good friend, Todd. I talked to my friends and I asked them, what do you think? This is what I'm going through and I'm unsure what it is I want and help me. As soon as you say help me, your friends are there. That's what being a friend is being there, ready to listen, ready to help, to celebrate in your victories and to be there in times of need. And when you're depressed, that's a time of need. I know I'm there and willingly wanting to be there for my friends when they need me. That's friendship. Now, you can also expand perspectives. How can you do that? I call it my circle of friends. Now, I've created my circle of friends. It can be real live people. For example, I imagine the Dalai Lama is one of my friends. What would the Dalai Lama say to me when I come to him with this difficulty? What would his advice be to me? What would Mori-san, Japan's first astronaut, what would he advise me to do? I imagine. I don't necessarily go to these people that are real live. What would Dr. David Reynolds, who's the founder of Constructive Living, what would he suggest I do? You can expand it even further. People I admire from history, Carl Sagan, who is an astrophysicist, Einstein, Lincoln, Buddha, Teddy Roosevelt, Harry Truman. What would each person say to me when I brought this difficulty, this challenge, this problem to them? And tell them that I'm depressed. I need help. You can also pull people from fiction. Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the Starship Enterprise, Captain Benjamin Sisko of Deep Space Nine, Spock, Spencer, that's a detective, by Robert B. Parker, MacGyver on television, who could always find a solution, nonviolent, by and large, solution. Those are people from fiction that I admire, respect, their principles, their way of life. So the key to mild depression is to recognize this can be a source of energy for good, to help me make my life better. Because usually mild depression is, again, me being unhappy with some condition in my life. I want something better. Now I need to identify what it is I want instead of what I'm suffering from. Then, with help of my friends, discovering that, and then how do I get to that point? That way is the way I can handle depression. So my suggestion is surround yourself with good people in your life. People that you respect, people that you admire, because then they will inspire you to be better. And surround yourself with people you trust and know that they care about me. Let them help me. That's a big thing. Sometimes I don't want to burden people with, let them help me. I'd be there for them. They also will be there for me. It's sometimes tough. It takes courage to ask for help. You're not alone. You have your best friends. You have your circle of friends. Use that to your advantage to deal with mild depression. Thanks. Thank you for joining us today for the Substance of Living podcast. If you'd be kind enough to consider subscribing, you can contact us through Spotify or Apple Podcasts or connect on Twitter. Join us again next time for what I hope will help you navigate life.